So we are headed in. Anthony and I are going to meet George, and we are headed into the Long Beach Aquarium. Inside there is a lot of critters. There's over 12,000 fish and over 500 species of fish and marine mammal and marine invertebrates and everything in between. And the largest aquarium in here is supposed to be 350,000 gallons, over 1 million gallons of other tanks. So this should be pretty cool. All right, so we spent hours here. We spent almost 5 hours here, had such a good time, and we got to see all sorts of different animals and creatures, from the deep to the shallows to tide pools to, you know, local stuff from California, stuff from the Atlantic coast, and stuff from all over the world. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I tried to do a sampling of my favorite stuff of about 2 hours of recording. So I brought you the most beautiful, quirky, and interesting fish that I saw there that day. So get ready, relax, and enjoy. All right, so as we walk into the aquarium, you can see there's kind of an interactive thing going on here. And then there's tanks here. There's a gift shop over here. There's a giant life-size whale up in here. And then you can see that there's a big old kelp forest tank that's like 3 or 4 stories tall over there, that has Southern Californian specific animals, whereas this is a Caribbean reef tank, I think. So let's check out the Caribbean reef tank. It's kind of cool. They've got a map that shows where all the coral in the country is, and then it also shows the entire world's coral collections and populations naturally occurring. You can really see how much of it occurs like right in the Australia, Southeast Asia, Polynesia area. And again, the big hot spot right off of California, right off Florida. All right, so here we are at a Northern Pacific tidal kelp and reef tank in a cold water reef, where you've got all the macroalgae, the dragon's breath, macroalgae, I don't know the Latin name, but also you can see there's all sorts of rock bass and rock fish and little perch and things in here. Is this a vermilion rock bass maybe? Or rockfish? Very cool. Vermilion, okay, yeah. And then we got the big old kelp flailing. Really beautiful. You can see the fish holding on to the rock columns, and in it there's starfish and sea anemones, giant sea anemones. And this is all cold water. This is all 60 degrees and cooler pretty much. And you need quite the chiller to set up a tank like this. Plus you need all that flow. And you can see they've even got all sorts of above and below. So the red macroalgae you guys are seeing all over here is Halaminia floraceae is the Latin name. So if you're into aquascaping with that, that is the one to get. Very cool. Look at these beautiful green, pastel green sea anemones, big sea anemones.
What's he doing over there? He's hiding.
So here we are up close and personal. You can see for scale, here's a whole class of kids, and these giant sea bass, that's a perfect name for them, as they are the size of me. Here comes a leopard shark coming through, but look at these massive giant sea bass. It's hard to convey just how big they are, but they're bigger than most of the giant groupers I've ever seen over in Florida or off the Atlantic. And here you can kind of get an idea for the scale of these forests of kelp. Even though this is inside, out in the wild, they get absolutely massive. And here we go again with these giant fish. Look at the size of these fish compared to these kids. I mean, those kids would be a meal. And here we've got these fish just pouring down. Very, very cool. Those are blacksmith Herrera fish. And then again, the leopard shark. So moving on over here, we've got the kelp forest represented in kind of a slice, and Anthony's checking out the fish up close and personal. He's got the vermilion rockfish hanging out staring at him, and he's got some other black and some blue rockfish. It's really cool to see this kelp and how it sways, being on dry land but yet being able to feel immersed. It just gives a whole new sense to it all. Again, here's our very common vermilion rockfish. It's a nice pretty orange and peach one. And we get a number of different macroalgae here, from the dragon's breath, the red, to all sorts of other little pieces that tend to break off by the time you see them on the shore. Now there's a shy fish in here called the Garibaldi that is this bright orange one and is protected in the waters. Here comes a leopard shark. It is protected in the waters off of California. You cannot harvest them or hunt them. And look at this, here comes one right in front of us, but they are absolutely electric orange. They look like almost like a parrotfish or a cichlid, but they're saltwater fish. They're bright orange. As we go on, you can see the bottom of the different types of kelp and seaweed that are in here, or macroalgae, and the different types of kelp which they're trying to anchor with, it looks like oyster shells, but it's got a nice flow in here. And you can see how thick the kelp gets, whereas just below there's quite a bit of diversity, including these massive sea bass down here. So you are looking at a very cool endemic species. This is the Catalina Island goby, or the Lithropinus dahliae. Like they're glowing from the inside out, and then they've got blue banding on their face that is absolutely electric as well. You can see the metallic to neon blue right there on their face, and the macro algae and the little sea anemones and life that exists in this same ecosystem is absolutely beautiful as well. But you can see where they would actually blend in, even though they have these electric colors right here. You can see how they would blend in with the dragon's breath red macroalgae. Here we have a saltwater just perch tank that's showing off some white abalone, which is one of the most poached shellfish, one of the most poached creatures in North America, because it's sold overseas in Asia for food as a delicacy. So this is a really cool exhibit in that they're showing off what the oil rigs off the coast. You've got the drilling rigs, because a lot of people don't realize, but LA, Orange County, very well known for its oil. That's what brought people here first as a major city, before Hollywood and all that. But they've got all the deep water and dark fish and coral that's down there. Absolutely awesome to do this artificial setup in the aquarium, and it's just packed with fish, as well as beautiful, beautiful soft corals, hard corals, sea anemones, clams, all sorts of invertebrates, and all sorts of schooling fish too. Here we got another camouflage creature, a little flounder type of soul, and look at his eyes, He's got triangular shaped pupils. And he's coming out of the sand for a moment, but he'll disappear just as quickly. I've never seen him swimming just openly like that.
So high like this. They're usually hiding down.
Yeah,
Weird. That's crazy.
it's wild. I wonder if they're feeding him or something.
Must be.
Or her, I guess. Shouldn't judge.
It's so cool. I've never seen it that close. I hope it's not like abnormal behavior.
I know. I was wondering the same thing.
That's so cool.
The jellyfish. The ink girl is in the jellyfish.
So here we're watching an eagle ray head off in a quarantine tank area where they've got some cow nose rays and some eagle rays, as well as some stingrays that they're holding in here. It's a big circular tank, and here you can see the eagle ray with his super long whip tail, and the cow nose rays, which were also in the petting zoo tanks, the touch tanks. They've got a much blunter nose and kind of a flat face and kind of cute eyes. Better have good filtration with the way these guys eat though. Here comes another big old stingray. And the eagle ray's working his way around. Hopefully he'll come up against the glass here right now. Yep, we got both of them. Stingray and the eagle ray. Look at that face. Some of the craziest evolution there is on our planet. So majestic and beautiful. So here we have garden eels, and they are a really adorable little fish. Lives in the Sea of Cortez and off the coast of California and Baja, but they live anywhere from 50 to 150 feet deep, around 30 meters or so underwater, and they put their tail first in the sand and substrate and have kind of a little layer, and then they float around and grab little bits of phytoplankton, zooplankton, and microscopic and small crustaceans that live in the water. But they're absolutely awesome to watch. Very Dr. Seussy, very cool. So here you can actually see a pufferfish that is known as the Long Beach puffer, and is a porcupine spine puffer, or the spot fin porcupine fish officially. But it's a really cool fish. Right now not looking at us. Hopefully we can get it to turn around. And it's got absolutely massive eyes, just like your traditional pufferfish in freshwater would. And there are a number of other Pacific tropical and subtropical fish. A lot of stuff you'd see in Florida here as well, as far as types of fish.
It's huge. No.
But there is the porcupine. So here we are again up top, and we are looking down at where we saw the massive sea bass. Look at those things compared to a full-grown man. It's probably 6 feet tall. And they've got that set up, and then you can look around and you can see other displays and photos, as well as the really cool model of a blue whale suspended from the ceiling here, to give you an idea of how large they'd be, as well as with their calf side by side. What's up, Anthony?
What's up, bro?
So here we have a really cool installation of tropical fish. Looks like they've actually got an archer fish in here too, as well as corals. But yeah, they've got archer fish. So these are Pacific and Indian Ocean fish then. Look at some of these beautiful fish. The cowfish, boxfish of sorts, and so some of these archer fish are really big compared to my hand. It's a banded archer fish living in salt water fully. And anemones. The archer fish are an interesting choice to put in here. I wonder if the archer fish hunt up here at all. What are you thinking about, buddy? You've got some crazy aim. That transitions us over here to a big old wall. It is the deeper reef that you'd see on the continental shelf drop-off. So going down 20, 30, 40, 50 feet. The larger fish, some of these massive corals too. It's cool that here at the aquarium they're hatching out a lot of fish too, it looks like. Some absolutely awesome looking fish. As well as old broken bits of coral down at the bottom. And a canyon that simulates a very realistic habitat for them. Loops around. And then there's more shallow water reefs over here, more symbolic of what you'd see in the Great Barrier Reef or something like that. The really electric colors and absolutely psychedelic fish. Forget about glowfish. Eat your heart out, glowfish.
I love these guys. These are Disparanthias, and forget what those ones are.
What are they called?
Anthias. They're a type of Anthias, and these are another type of Anthias.
Wow, it's got like a perfect square on it. And they've got this tunnel hallway tank with the most of tropic of tropical type fish going on. And these are kind of the deeper level reef fish. You can see them hanging out. Some of them are eating off the coral, some of them are eating algae. But all the fish in these tanks, it's pretty cool, look very, very healthy, which is great to see. Some aquariums you see fish with injuries and scars and diseases and things. These ones all look super healthy. There's a big goat fish. And you come across the way, you got some really interesting looking fish, including the spiny porcupine fish. And he's interacting with people. Super cool. So here we got an actual turtle. Wild. More tropical fish. These are the smaller ones. Mid-sized kind of, I should say. So they don't get eaten by the big guys across the way, but there's the porcupine fish saying hello. Super interactive. Look at this guy. I don't know what this fish is, but look at his nose. Very, very cool. Again, the porcupine fish saying hello. Another fascinating fish. These are shrimp fish. And they swim with their nose pointed down so that they only see one another. Predators don't see them very easily. That's bizarre. It's like headstanders in freshwater. And they also kind of orchestrate this beautiful ballet when they school. Beautiful sun corals. They've also got the crazy spiraling ones. And these are in the deeper reefs. Very beautiful. And oh, what do we have here? Past George, past Aqua Balls, we've got a giant octopus. I don't know, is this a giant Pacific or what is this? Yes. Looks like it. He's a big one. This is the flamboyant cuttlefish, and this is one of my all-time favorite fish, or rather cephalopods in the world. Absolutely incredible. These can turn every color of the rainbow, and they can change the texture of their body. Only the mimic octopus and the blue ring octopus rival it in their ability to change so quickly and so drastically. They are an absolutely beautiful creature. Retails over $600 a piece. And in here there's like a dozen of them. And you can see there's also some sort of, look at this worm. Right here.
Oh no. That's a bristle worm.
Bristle worm.
Oh, bad.
That's not good. Maybe these eat them? I don't know. But I think it's bad. But look at these guys go. They can mimic all sorts of things. And they have just an incredible color. Yeah, that pattern.
Ethan, look at this.
They actually will do that. And then they'll turn towards the prey, like turn towards us. And then they'll turn bright colors, and their mouth of, well, its tentacles will open up, and then all of a sudden they've got one that's ready to grab, or maybe two together, and they'll reach out and they'll pull it into their mouth. But it, like, the fish will stare at it just kind of like confused, or the shrimp will.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's really trippy.
I thought they got really big.
There are a lot of cuttlefish types. I think these ones get about this big, but there are other ones, including the. So here we have an active flow, like surf tank, which is really cool in that you see what you would actually be seeing as you're watching the waves go in and out if you're fishing in the harbor or a port. Now, another interesting thing is their choice of decor. They've got like pine trees, and then they've got like ferns, sword ferns, just sitting right on the saltwater rocks, which would never happen. But we won't talk about that. We'll just look at the cool fish, the sea perch and sea bass and the sea anemones and the kelp and the waves rolling back and forth. It's really cool. This is a exhibit with northern Pacific creatures, and you can see the glass is all fogged up because it's so hot today. But here are sea jellies, different jellyfish, or warty comb jellies. And they can be quite mesmerizing to stare at. Very psychedelic looking creatures.
Oh, it's cold, that's why too.
So here are what is called warty comb jellies. They're not a jellyfish, they are a sea jelly. And they are stenophores, and they float around and feed, filter feeding, grabbing little tiny bits of food from plankton and microorganisms. But they live in the very cold waters of the northern Pacific, and now they're also found in the Black Sea as an invasive species as well. And we end everything with the batfish. This is an absolutely beautiful fish. As a juvenile, these fish look so trippy, so beautiful, so weird. And yet, as they grow up, they end up turning into this fish. A far less colorful and trippy fish. Still beautiful, but it doesn't rival the babies. Batfish. You know you want one. Thank you so much for coming with me, you guys, and checking out the Aquarium of the Pacific in Long Beach, California. I can't do these trips without you guys, without clubs inviting me to come speak, and I love going out, seeing things, and sharing them with you. So if you like this video, you guys know what to do. Thumbs up, subscribe, all that. It all helps the channel. So do comments. I want to know, have you been here? how does it stack up to other aquariums you've seen? And beyond that, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.